Hi, it's Michael, San Diego Skateboard Longboard Race Club. I made a tutorial at the beginning of the year when after completing in the Adrenalina Marathon, and the video was more about the styles of decks you could use for long distance pushing for, like, say, a marathon. The Adrenalina Marathon was a 26.2 miles or something like that. Just a FYI, there is another event coming in San Diego on November 20th, I believe, 2016, but just check Adrenalina in Bird Rock, San Diego for more information on that. Okay, so this tutorial, I'm going to really try to speed things up. I've tried to shoot this a few times, and I have a tendency to give way more information probably than a lot of people can use all at once. So first thing I want to talk about is, where do you skate? Do you skate in the hilly area? Do you skate on the flats? And then, of course, what do you want to skate? Do you want just a cruise? Do you want distance? Do you want to free ride? Are you hoping to do downhill? And then the other thing is, what is your ability? Because even if you want to do downhill and you haven't skated very much, it's not where you want to start. So I'm just kind of putting those ideas out there. It's pretty obvious. You know, you want to start what builds confidence, because it's all about progression. And same thing, I started skating at skate parks this year, and I usually leave every time just getting a little bit better, getting the muscle memory thing down and building confidence. And it's the same thing with longboarding. So in this tutorial, I'm going to share my progression in the sport, which is kind of the stepping stones of what got me to be able to skate generally all styles of boards. But in the beginning, when I didn't, I started probably about 6 years ago, at least 6 years ago. I come from a background of racing motorcycles for 20 years and racing BMX, 15, nationals for 10. And just my situation brought me to skateboards, and it was the double drop skateboard, the one that's right here, that really, I caught a hunger for skateboarding. I didn't even think I could longboard, but this longboard right here isn't the one I started on. I actually, for kicks and giggles, I started on this board right here. It's a little dusty. I just pulled it out of the rack. It was a 10-inch wide, 31.50 wheelbase. I'm 5'10", 165 pounds. I've got it set up with some gunmetal trucks and some Road Rider wheels. I think they're center set. And this really was a fun board for me. I got comfortable, at 20 miles an hour. I got comfortable making carving turns. I will recommend bushings can make the difference of you progressing or not. I got to meet Brad from Riptide Sports, and it's such a blessing to use his product. So you might feel kind of locked in your ability on a double drop, but with a slight bushing change, it could open up everything. And I will do a tutorial on bushings in the future. So this has got, let me see here, gunmetal trucks. And you'll notice that this deck is a little different than what I showed you, because the trucks are raised even some more. And these are Paris V2s, and I've de-wedged these ones a few degrees, probably like 3 or 4 degrees. But the most important thing, I wanted to raise the truck so that I could have the board lowered to the ground. And you could see for this drop through, this is a standard, this is a 9-ply. This is one of my custom decks. I had a production run done for so I could have boards available for club members that were looking to get something to progress to free riding or downhill and / LDP. And this was in my opinion the best all-purpose board. But it isn't the one I was using for a few years. And that would be right here. This was absolutely my favorite board, but when I used it for a couple of years, I didn't raise the trucks on this. I got a thing for raising trucks because I like to have the board down. This one's been modified a few times, but it's set up right now to do distance and free ride. And to do both, you want to have the deck low to the ground, but at the same time, when you do brake checks, when you do, whether toe side or heel side, you don't want your toes and heels hitting the ground. So this is pretty much on that that parameter of being low enough to the ground. You can see it's still taller than the double drop. But the reason why the double drop is a nice board as well, and if I forgot to mention, this is a 31.50 wheelbase. Center of the inside truck mount to the center of the inside truck mount. And the thing about a drop-through deck is it's a lot easier to go up driveway curbs because you're not the transition of a drop kind of locks you into where you're standing on the board, and when you first start going up driveway curbs, not having your feet locked in is a benefit. It's also really good to train yourself to be able to know where your feet are. But generally speaking, you can make a wheelbase shorter on a drop-through board, and you have more choices of wheels with the hub sizes. I always have I've tried a few composite board decks just to learn about them, to see how they work, but my choice is really wood, whether it's Canadian maple or Wisconsin maple, because I like to, well, not like to, out of necessity, I want clearance out of the wheel wells. So anyway, the drop-through board is just the board I think is best if you want a free ride. It can also be used for downhill, but most people progress from a drop-through board to a top mount. That's when the trucks are underneath the deck. And the reason for that is you can put a shorter wheelbase because now your feet are on top of the trucks. Obviously, you see the trucks are mounted underneath the deck. But because I don't like to look down at my feet, or I like to spend as much time as I can reading the road, even when you do a top mount, you can get them with a micro drop. There's personal preference to how much concave you want. I found that I don't need too aggressive of a concave, especially for distance. And so when I had my production run of boards made, I wanted a board with not a whole lot of concave, but still enough to lock my feet in when I want to slide. And because when you bring your feet back on, I also wanted straight lines, so I always knew when my foot, it was kind of like training myself, knowing where my foot was at all times. Okay, I don't want to, I'm trying to give a tutorial on what deck to buy. So a top mount is really good when you have experience. When you're this high off the ground, even though it doesn't look that much more like on video, if I remove this board, there's really a big difference. And to ride this board, even though it's going to carve sharper down steep hills, it's going to break out into slides easier, you have to be more aggressive and have confidence and really have the skill set. So to really get your fundamentals down, my #1 choice would be a drop-through deck, but of course this one has been modded with trucks, so I can use this as a push board as well. So when I use the trucks on a flush mount to the top of the deck, which is what I showed you earlier with one of my builds right here. When I say flush mount, this is just the standard drop through. Okay. Now, if you have a mindset that you can skate pretty good, but you really want to do downhill, like that's going to be your thing, then to this day, even though I really enjoy my top mount for free riding, 20, 25 miles an hour, if I'm in an area where I like the traffic, there's not much, and I want to really feel locked into my board and have like confidence, then having a drop down deck is still my favorite. So, of course, this is going to turn a lot slower. You also have less choices to where you want to move the trucks, because you don't want to eliminate the reason why you like a drop deck is this transition area. But for confidence and going fast, this board is awesome. But I've found that drop down decks they're just slower turning. I mean, that's all really for this tutorial. That's the best way I can put it. This particular drop down deck is probably only a 1-inch drop, but the nose and tail have a degree of wedge on, which helps make the trucks into like probably a 43 or 44. So that greatly enhanced the turning capabilities of this drop down deck, because slower degree trucks are exactly that. They're more stable, but they also turn slower. And so in order for this deck design was made so that with the stability you also kept some of the turning. And there's no comparison with a top mount deck as far as how with the right bushing setup, how sharp it can turn. Now I know there's still plenty of boards I could talk about for longboarding. I'll do one real quick with like here's a pump board. I got some Carver trucks on this. It's really fun. I enjoy this board to do a session on it. But then the one drawback is, first of all, it's not too stable. It's pretty loose. Even the back truck is loose. You get on the board, and so if you don't have a lot of experience, my girlfriend calls it the wiggle board, especially when you get pumping and pushing. And so you can see it's a top mount board. It's always been my goal to try to build boards as cheap as possible with the most performance. And one of the breakthroughs I had was making a pump and push board that still has enough ability to free ride. I'm going to be doing a video specifically for this board soon, but I'll just give you a brief rundown on it. It's a drop through, so there's plenty of real estate space, really comfortable. It has a traditional kingpin Bennett vector. The wedging was added to make it equal to the Randalls. It's how I wanted to set up the board. This is the 42-degree Randall. Bushing trucks. Anyway, this board is awesome for pumping, but still low and great for pushing. But the added feature is I can also, if I hit a hill section, I can carve the hill, I can do some brake checks on it. So if I'm in an area that doesn't have a lot of steep hills, but there's some transitions, the road kind of drops and things, but I still want to kick to go up a hill, yeah, this is phenomenal. The other board I can talk about too is Madrid makes, I look at it as like a drop-through schlong board. And the reason why I call it a schlong is because in the community of skateboarding, people who didn't have a distance board, but this is actually a big one, because I'll show you. Here's an 8.25, an 8.25 double kick park board, but it borders on a hybrid, something that you can use for the park and for the streets. See how big that is? If I match this up here, I think it's got like a 21-inch wheelbase. But what makes this a longboard is when you mount the trucks on the nose and on the tail. And you could make it into a drop through and you can cut out wheel wells, but that's a whole different video. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm going to talk about park boards on a different video. This one, the wheelbase is 28 inches. That works best for me. I got stability, but at the same time, this is my wicked carver, just really sharp. I'm using Paris V2 trucks on this. And I think that really kind of gives you an idea of some deck selection. Really the best thing to do is hit me up. I have a club that I sponsor and organize, San Diego Skateboard Longboard Race Club. We actually get together in Pacific Beach on Tuesday evenings for a roll along the boardwalk. But before that event happens, you can come to my house with arrangements. You can try some boards, and it's always fun to kind of help people make a choice on where they want to take their skill set. And there's some hills around my house too, as far as I do little clinics, teach how to do brake checks, whatnot, or how to do push, or how to learn, pump, or how to ride, SCOG method, where you can transfer your regular stance to your goofy foot stance, kind of seamlessly flowing. Anyway, San Diego Skateboard Longboard Race Club, this is Michael. Hook up with me through Facebook, Michael Landigent, or on my YouTube site. And I think that really sums it up, other than the fact that just a quick, for those that are interested in Christ, I'm also a preacher. Just a quick disclaimer, the club isn't about religion, it's just about a community of people having fun. It's how I serve everybody. There is no limitation on faith. Like, you don't have to be a Christian, and I don't even ask. So anyway, I think that kind of sums it up. God bless you, and I hope this is a little bit, I hope I got it close to where I covered a broad spectrum and gave enough information that it sort of makes sense in the big picture. Alright then, thanks for watching, and more videos to come.